Hello, today is one of my favorite videos to make of the entire year, sunscreen reviews. I'll be reviewing all mineral sunscreens today, and then in my next sunscreen review, I'll be reviewing chemical sunscreens. Today, I also want to share with you, especially if you have not found your holy grail sunscreen yet, you have to pick up the Sephora Sun Safety Kit. I pick this up every year because you get to try 13 sunscreens, sometimes 12, sometimes 13. They put a couple full sizes in here for the low price of $39. And honestly, it's the best deal in town. And they also give 50% of their proceeds to the Sloan Kettering Cancer Foundation to study and research melanoma. So it is a win-win, and I pick it up every year. Highly recommend you pick it up if you don't have a holy grail sunscreen yet. And I am going to share with you the mineral sunscreens that are in this kit and save the chemical sunscreens for my next video. They always come in a cute little reusable bag. This year's bag is by Goop, and they gave us 3 mineral sunscreens plus a beauty blender. Now, if you're wondering what in the world is a beauty blender doing inside a sunscreen kit, I'm going to show you. It is one of the coolest tips that I learned about 3 years ago on how to reapply your sunscreen, especially over makeup. You use a dry beauty blender. 3 mineral sunscreens that they gave us to try are the BIOSSANCE. This is their reformulation. They pulled this off the shelves about a year and a half ago, and about 6 months ago they came out with their reformulation. Now, you guys know I'm always babbling on about the Tatcha Silk Sunscreen. Not one of the most inexpensive ones, but it is absolutely beautiful, especially if you're close to my skin tone. Dr. Dennis Gross always throws in his sunscreen, and I'm hoping this year his mineral sunscreen has been reformulated because it's had a touch of a white cast in the past, and it really has not been one that I've reached for. So let's take a quick look at the BIOSSANCE reformulation. It's untinted. I've tried this a few weeks ago because I bought a full size, very curious about the relaunch, and this does leave a slight white cast on my skin, and occasionally, depending on what skincare I'm using, it will pill. So this is not as good, in my opinion, as the original formula. The teeny weeny sample of Tatcha will at least give you an idea, because I haven't repurchased it yet, what the tint is like. It's a slightly pink tint. So if you have warm tones to your skin, this may not work for you, but I have a little bit of pink in my skin, so this works perfectly for my skin tone. The Dr. Dennis Gross, like I said, I'm hoping this formulation is an improvement on past years, because in the past, this has definitely left a white cast on my skin. So let's take a look. This is the first time I've tried this. I haven't even sampled it. You know what? I think this is going to be much better. It even has a different texture to it. And I'm not seeing the white cast that I typically do. I bet once this dries down, this is going to be beautiful. Now, whether it leaves a slightly shiny finish, hard to say, but you can also go through the beauty blender if you have that shiny finish and you don't like it, or even a makeup brush and kind of tamp it down or tap it down to get rid of the shine. That's one thing that I've done, especially on some of those glowier sunscreens, and it works beautifully. A sunscreen brand that's getting a lot of buzz this spring is the Ultraviolet Sunscreens that just launched at Sephora. They launched 4 different formulas. Ultraviolet isn't a new sunscreen brand. They're actually an Australian brand, and they decided to launch their sunscreens here in the US. Of course, they had to change their sunscreen filters to adhere to US standards, but their formulas are really beautiful. They do have a chemical sunscreen, but it has fragrance. It's the blue container with the yellow top, just as a warning, because I didn't realize it had fragrance in it, and I picked it up, but I had to return it. But this is an elegant formula, kind of runny and thin like the Tatcha, but it's a little bit warmer. I would say neutral to warmer toned than the Tatcha. The Tatcha runs a little bit pink and is a little cooler. I would also say this formula has more satin finish once it dries down, and the Tatcha is a more dewy finish. I also want to share with you a sunscreen that I picked up, I would say about 6 months ago, that I'm having a little trouble getting through. This is the Lightsaver all mineral sunscreen with zinc oxide. It's a cream formula, but unfortunately it does leave a white cast, so I have to put a little bit of tinted moisturizer over this to get it to work. It's a creamy formula, it's really nice, it's really hydrating. I've also found that sometimes, depending on the skincare that I'm using that day, it ends up pilling. So I've had trouble kind of getting through this. I actually love the DRMTLGY combination sunscreen when I'm reaching for an untinted sunscreen. It's been a long time fave. I would love a recommendation from you if you have an untinted all mineral sunscreen that's working for you. Put it down in the comments because I'm really looking for an alternative to the combination sunscreen by DRMTLGY for my go-to untinted sunscreen. One of my all-time favorite mineral sunscreen is COLORESCIENCE. Now, I accidentally picked up their Glow formula. I'm not a fan of their Flex formula. I feel like it gives me too much coverage, and I kind of like some skin peeking through. Now, I have used their Glow formula in the past. It's not my favorite as far as the glow because it is super glowy, but it is a great skin tone match for me. And if you like that kind of bronzy, glowy look for the summer, you're going to love this. I was really wanting to pick up the original, and it's slightly white when it goes on, but it blends into my skin beautifully with no white cast. I definitely will finish up the glow, but I wish it wasn't as glowy as it is. Two new mineral sunscreens that I'm trying this season are by OneSkin. You know how I love the OneSkin body formula. They actually also have a OneSkin body sunscreen. Now these are SPF 30, as is the BIOSSANCE. So these would be for days that I'm not going to be out very long, just kind of in and out of the car, just an everyday sunscreen. Now they have a tinted formula and an untinted formula. And I swatched the untinted and it goes on with a fairly significant white cast. But once it dries down, I was really surprised that it just blends right in with a barely noticeable white cast. Now the tinted is another story. This is definitely too dark a tint for my skin tone, but I know a lot of you will really appreciate this shade. It's just a little bit too dark for me. What I'm thinking so that I can get through this, because it has that OS1 peptide that is so incredibly nourishing to the skin and helps with senescent cells, is that what I will do is I will mix these two, like mostly the untinted with a drop of tint. Another high-tech sunscreen I was really curious about this year is the ISDIN sunscreens because they have DNA repair enzymes. Now, if you haven't seen my video on DNA repair enzymes, I will link it down below in the description because they are totally revolutionizing skincare. These are supposed to actually go back in time, back into our damaged skin and help repair it, especially damaged skin from sun exposure. So if you have a sunscreen with it in, you're kind of like putting on an extra shield. The only problem I have with these are they're fragranced. And this particular shade, and they're very runny. All right, let's try that again. That just ran right out. Make sure you shake up your mineral sunscreens because they do tend to settle. This reminds me of the sunscreen from SkinCeuticals as far as the runniness of the formula. There, that's a little bit thicker and more representative of what it actually looks like. And it is a beautiful sunscreen. It's just not the right tint for my skin. It's just a little too yellow and a little too dark. However, their untinted formula, I was really hopeful about, but again, it has fragrance and I really do not want fragrance, especially in my sunscreen. I just kind of feel like there may be some sort of a reaction between the fragrance and the UV. I don't know, maybe that's just me thinking of wives' tales, but I really just don't like this fragrance. It's very perfumey and it does blend down. It leaves a slight white cast on my skin. So it's a real shame that this high-tech sunscreen has got fragrance in it. I was really hoping that this would be a winner, especially because I am so excited about DNA repair enzymes. Another sunscreen I picked up this year and I'm absolutely loving is the one by DRMTLGY. This is their sunscreen powder, and I just use this kind of like I would a beauty blender to reapply a very light layer throughout the day or to cut down the shine on some of my sunscreens that are a little bit too glowy. Speaking of glow, I love the In Beauty Project's their Glow Screen. It just gives my skin a little pick-me-up and is so pretty. Now it doesn't dry down matte. It definitely has a glow to it, but it is my perfect shade match once I get this blended out. And like I said, it's been one of my favorites ever since I picked it up, and I picked up my backup recently at the Sephora sale. A tinted sunscreen that I'd written off years ago was the Ulta MD because it made my skin look too Oompa Loompa. Since then, you guys have told me that some of their new formulations, their clear formulations, are absolutely beautiful, and I definitely want to pick up one of their untinted ones. But this I was given after my facelift, and it is a close match for my skin tone. It's close, but it's a little bit too opaque for me. I'm going to swatch it right here for you, and you can kind of see what it looks like. It's a little bit hard to work into my skin. Not bad, pretty close, but I'd rather reach for the In Beauty Project. It's a little bit better of a match. I absolutely love the new matte sunscreen from DRMTLGY, but it is a little bit of a cheat because it's not just a mineral sunscreen, it's a combination of mineral and chemical sunscreens. I wanted to throw it in here because I wanted to redeem my review of the universal tinted sunscreen a few years ago because it was so orange and oxidizing on my skin. This one doesn't oxidize and it looks just beautiful. I just applied DRMTLGY's Matte Universal Tinted Sunscreen as the last step in my skincare routine, kind of as a no makeup look for today, and I've let that dry down. I'm going to show you how you can use a beauty blender now to reapply sunscreen. This is one of my all-time favorite sunscreens by Murad. It's a mineral sunscreen, and it has a little bit more of a yellow tint than the Tatcha, but they're both very similar in consistency. The Tatcha might be a little bit more runny, but I love both of those sunscreens. Those have been my two holy grails for quite a while until I found the In Beauty Project. All right, let me show you how you can just reapply your sunscreen right over your makeup and not mess it up. I've reapplied this over blush. I've reapplied this over my concealer. And I just think this is the greatest tip. Now, is it going to be as polished as when you left the house? Probably not, but it's going to help with that reapplication without doing major damage to your makeup. And remember, your beauty blender should be dry because you don't want it to absorb the sunscreens. And so you get the idea. That wraps up my mineral sunscreen review. 3 holy grails, a bunch of new ones that I'm trying out, a few that were fails, unfortunately, and one you guys recommended that I'm really enjoying, the new DRMTLGY matte sunscreen that was released not that long ago. I hope you've enjoyed this quick review and my tip on reapplying using your beauty blender. And don't forget, it is Skin Cancer Awareness Month, and find a holy grail sunscreen that you love and will wear every single day. Thanks very much for watching and wishing you all a skintastic day.